Hi there, folks. This is Kim Willis again with another episode in our Words That Sell podcast. And the theme for this series is about thought leadership. So what I've done is that I've asked some people that I've been following and engaging with and so on via the LinkedIn platform of people that I respect and look up to. And so I've got another one in the another guest tonight in the form of Edward Gudewill. Is that Goodwill or Goodwill? How do you say it?
Pretend it's spelled with two O's. Goodwill.
Okay, that's easy. All right.
Yeah.
He's also known as Eddie, so probably call him Eddie for the rest of the interview. But before I ask Edward or Eddie the first question, let me just read a little summary of his bio. Okay, so Eddie is 34 years old. He's married. He's an expecting father to a baby girl due on November the 25th.
Yeah.
Nerve-wracking time, but very much worth it. That's for sure. Now, Eddie, you're on the west coast, aren't you? British Columbia.
Yeah, we're basically on opposite sides of the world right now. It's 5 a.m. my time.
Yeah,
So good morning, everybody.
and it's 8 p.m. for me. And Eddie is in a city called Victoria. How far is that from the capital?
Well, Ottawa is probably 3,000 kilometers away across the country.
Yeah,
Canada is a massive country, as you
I
probably
know.
know.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're 3 hours behind everybody else that wakes up in Toronto and New York.
And how cold is it in Victoria in the winter?
It doesn't get too bad. The coldest it would be in Victoria would be -2, -3. It's not like the prairies, Alberta,
Right.
Ontario can get -20, but Victoria's pretty pleasant all year round.
Yeah, well, that's good. So you don't get much snow.
Sometimes we're right by the water, so there's just less ability for the snow it doesn't get as cold, so there's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
quite as much snow as in the drier areas
yeah,
where it gets colder in the prairies.
yeah. I can imagine that. That's yeah, understandable. Okay, so Eddie, he studied at the University of Calgary, and he has an CFA charter. So he's in the financial services industry. At least he has been. He's always been passionate about finance, and now he's sharing his story and learnings to help others get started and improve their financial journeys. Fantastic stuff. Uh, by the way, Eddie will be talking about something new that he's doing, an initiative that he's recently released. He'll be doing that, but of course we'll be talking about the thought leadership topic as well. And you'll be able to contact Eddie on LinkedIn, and we'll have website and all the other stuff that you need in the show notes. I have Eddie has the following experience: equity research, mortgage finance, CFA charter holder. I'm not sure what that is. $700 million portfolio manager previously. Commercial real estate investor and syndication, more or less does that full time. And he's advised over 200 high net worth clients on investing in financial planning. So he's got the runs on the board. And now he's become a LinkedIn writer with a mission to help people become great investors. All right. Well, that's a little bit of the background there, but perhaps you can just illuminate a little bit further, Eddie, in terms of, what made you, how did you enter the financial services industry, and how old were you when you got your first gig job?
Good question. I started getting interested in finance and stock markets when I was a teenager.
Yeah,
My dad would, have his newspaper, and in the back section of the Financial Times, you could look at all these numbers, and they didn't really tell much other than price and volume for all these companies. But I was just fascinated with just looking at the numbers rather than reading the
right.
actual literature of the paper itself. So I knew from an early age that I was sort of meant to go into finance. So it was an easy decision to go into university and take a finance major. I always looked up to Warren Buffett. I found him at an early age, read his books. And so I just sort of progressed through the typical path for somebody that wanted to break into the financial world. So I started with, a financial analyst job, I worked as a mortgage investment fund manager, and then I sort of leveled up. Each career step that I took was sort of a stepping stone on the other. I got into equity research, writing sell side reports for hedge funds and pension funds, and then I moved into portfolio management, which was always a dream of mine. So managed a large portfolio of $700 million,
Yeah.
200 clients. So, on average, $3.5 million of liquid money invested with us for each client. So we took care of everything from portfolio management all the way through to tax and estate planning and even family counseling. And then back in 2022, just a year ago, actually, decided to make a big shift. And I didn't really like the day to day of being a portfolio manager and sort of having to be the therapist for clients, even though
Yeah.
I was good at it, right? I could chat with lots of people and network with them, especially older ladies. For some reason, I resonated with them. Maybe I'm a disarming guy or unassuming person. I don't know. But anyways, by the end of the day, I was emotionally drained from listening and sort of wearing all the problems of my clients. And so I decided that day to day is not what I want to do from 35 up until 65. So I completely exited portfolio management, and now I just invest in commercial real estate properties in Canada.
But how long ago was it that you exited portfolio management?
Basically 1 year ago.
Hey, right, right.
Yeah.
And so you're a real estate investor on the commercial side of things, and then but you're also doing you've got this other project. You're telling people about it on LinkedIn and elsewhere. I guess is it more of a you see it as a big potential money making opportunity, or is it more of a passion project? Where does that sit with you?
That's a good question. And once I'm done speaking, I'll ask you the same thing and, how we've met on LinkedIn and why that is and why there's a community growing on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
Everybody's story and motivation will be slightly different. For me, I always get approached by people, Eddie, how do I invest? What is the stock market? How do I do a budget? Should I be investing in ETFs or looking at single stocks? What do you think about Amazon? And so I always get these questions in all points of my life, and I try to help people, and it sort of resonates with friends and colleagues. And so earlier on in 2023, I took a course on how to grow on LinkedIn and share a story of expertise
yeah,
with the idea that it would be kind of fun to expand my readership and those that I help in person to a bigger community
yeah,
with the idea that perhaps I could build a bit of a personal brand, as they call it, and because they can be powerful if done correctly and sharing your story and helping others.
yeah,
So I'm sort of on there for two reasons. One, because I really want to help people get better at finance and investing because
yeah,
there's such a dearth of education within those two concepts during high school and university, and then everybody's ill prepared as soon as they graduate, and they wonder why they're punting from their own end zone right away.
yeah,
Um, so I have a motivation just to plain help people that otherwise didn't have the right education, or perhaps parents that were educated enough to teach them about it on the side. And so that's motivation number one. And then number two is, okay, let's see if I can monetize this at some point. So right now I sell a digital investing course that's 2 hours long. It's the length of a movie.
yeah,
And for $150 or a dinner date out with your wife or whoever, because
yeah,
things are so expensive, sort of downloaded everything I've learned academically and real world experience into that 2 hour course that, it's $150. It's not going to move the needle for me. I make 99% of my money in commercial real estate and likely always will, but it's just a side project. I
yeah,
have some spare time. I have a passion to help others. And if it can add, an extra 500, $1,000 a month, that's better than a boot to the head, you know?
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, let's move over once again to your side project, and
Sure.
particularly in relation to LinkedIn. Now, how because a lot of people who will be watching this, somewhat active or very active on the LinkedIn platform. How have you found the experience so far?
Interesting, in a word. Um,
Initially challenging,
I
like it is for
Yeah,
most
I
people.
don't know. I've always had a thing, I get irked about social media in general, how it's sort of consuming and wrapping itself into everybody's lives. So there
Mm.
was a period for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years where I had no social media and it felt great. So I had it when it started, and then, 2015 or something, I was like, this is crazy. Everybody's glued to their phones. I can't believe how much I'm just randomly scrolling. So I deleted everything. And I always had this LinkedIn page in the background. I never even checked it. So I didn't delete that. And then last year, I found myself in a new role in real estate where my day-to-day 8 hours or 10 hours wasn't consumed by 8 or 10 meetings, a lot more free time. So I got back onto LinkedIn and I noticed a course, how to grow on LinkedIn, how to monetize a brand, all these sorts of interesting things.
Mm.
And so I sort of went down the rabbit hole and I noticed that there is, in fact, a potential to earn money on online. And if I could go back 10 years, I would have, definitely changed my strategy and gotten into the digital realm earlier because I think there's a first mover advantage with many of these things. And if I had just been programmatic on social, maybe I'd have 100,000 followers today. But anyway, so I started growing, started posting content maybe twice a week in January, and then upped it to 3 times a week in February, and then in March, I kind of just got the hang of it. It's easy for me to create a post and type it up, and so that's sort of taken care of. I do that 5 days a week, and
Yeah.
I've sort of seen steady growth in my readership since then. Um, the one sort of downside with link growing on LinkedIn is a lot of the commenting and networking that you see on the public post that's on the wall is disingenuous because a lot of the people on that LinkedIn engagement pod are just sort of doing the same thing. They're showing up to comment on someone else's support like you and I do. We've created a relationship and we enjoy each other's content, but that's only a small fraction of the content that I actually like. And there's definitely a component of necessary engagement on others' posts in order to work the networking system to sort of augment the growth trajectory. Because if you didn't do that, the growth would be a lot slower. And I'd like your thoughts on your LinkedIn journey, how you find the experience in growth and getting clients from what it is you do. So that's why I say it's interesting. It's been a real big learning experience coming out of the social media darkness into like this kind of public speaker, and people recognize me on the street in Vancouver saying, I love your stuff. I'm like, whoa, that's pretty crazy. Um, so I don't know. Yeah, interesting,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. It
generally
is.
positive.
It's fascinating. It never ceases to amaze me. Um, the number of what we call lurkers on the platform, and I've had two vivid examples the last 24 hours. One was a guy who basically never commented on my posts. I commented on some of his posts, but he never returned the favor, never reciprocated. He's obviously doing some good things. He's the sort of guy I'd love to talk to. He's a sort of, he works with mid-sized businesses and helps to rejig their boost their bottom line. And he's got some pretty good case studies, but he's not very good at communicating his value to his
Hmm.
audience, especially on LinkedIn. So consequently, his newsfeed is barren. It's crickets, no comments. The only
Hmm.
one that comments was me.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's doing good stuff because I've been to his website. I've seen his case studies. Terrific. Like a lot of people, they have no clue about social media. It's
Yeah.
almost as if they've been dragged kicking and screaming social media because this is the thing, this is the age of social media, but never really changed their thinking to embrace so that they could embrace social media properly. And like I got started with Facebook in 2016. I had an account for years before that, but I only use it for family and friends. But I started using it for business purposes in 2016, but only after I made the mental shift. I bought courses, etc., but I kept, I'd try and implement, I'd have a, make some tentative moves, and then my negative self-talk would say, you're not going to be good at this social media. Forget about it. It's hopeless. You're not that social anyway. So forget about it. So I kept quitting,
Yeah.
restarting, quitting, restarting. But finally, I did a little testing on Twitter. I thought if I can, this strategy that I got off a guy, I bought a course from him. I thought if I can test it on Twitter, it doesn't matter. If I bomb, no one will know, right?
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what I did. That would have been in late 2015. And then lo and behold, I got a few good conversations happening on Twitter, and I got some customers out. They only bought small things. It was like marketing courses, not my courses. I was an affiliate for some companies. So, but they bought. I got commission out of it. So that was like a 60-day experiment. And I thought, right, I know this stuff works with Twitter. I'm sure it'll work with Facebook. I'm going to give it a go and see if I can get the same sort of results. So that's what happened May 2016. So I finally was able to get rid of the demons that I had about social media that I struggled with on and off for many years. I was still making money using other methods like email marketing and Google Ads and all that kind of stuff. But the social media thing eluded me because of my own mental, failings, my blockages. So that's a message I always want to give to people. Say, look, if you're struggling with, let's say, LinkedIn, there's a reason for it. There's a reason for it, and it's not just about knowing what to do. It's to have the right mental settings so that you will embrace what needs to be done. It's not just knowing, at an intellectual level what needs to be done. We have to sort of be on board with it emotionally as well. It's got to be almost a heart trip. So, but yeah, and then so I got started with LinkedIn in 2021. Yeah, a lot of hit and miss for the first few months. My content wasn't getting me any results at all, even though I was posting some reasonably good content, I thought. So that was in January of 2021, and then in late April, I thought, the heck with this, I'm going to start outreaching to people one-to-one.
Yeah.
And then just one client after another since then. So, but just going back, I won't hold the thing here, but I want to get back to you. But just going back to the lurkers, it was about lurkers.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
These two now type of examples. Today I did a call with the lady. She's somebody that I had. She's not posting much on LinkedIn, so can't really build a relationship that way. She might post once a week, and it's not what I call comment-worthy content. It's got to be comment-worthy. Otherwise, it seems false and strained and fake when you're trying to make a comment on a piece of crap content. No, yours are good. And I'm actually interested in the topic anyway, and which is pretty important. But anyway, I started cultivating her using all sorts of weird, wonderful methods in the DMs, with direct messaging. Very low key, sweet, little, messages that I sent to her. For instance, I saw her she was being interviewed somewhere else. And so I said, that's a very good interview. I really enjoyed it. And then she finally started to interact and with me, and today we did a call. That's one. And then there's another one that happened a bit before that, late yesterday or something like that. This guy was saying he helps businesses rejig their structures and helps boost their bottom line. He's got case studies and all the rest of it, but not getting engagement on his content. I noticed I could do a heck of a lot with him to help him. But once again, he was not engaging with my content. Another lurker. I was not
Yeah.
engaging with my content, not replying to my DMs one after another. And I wasn't just pounding him. No, I don't do that. That's not smart. It's low key, it's sweet, it's spasmodic. It's not every day. No, not at all. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, he books a call with me.
Yeah.
He wanted to be in control. That's my
Yeah.
thing. There. I think he wanted to be in control. He wanted to be the one to say, "Hey, I've had a look at this Kim Willis guy. I like his content, whatever.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm the one who's going to decide if I do a call with him," and that's exactly what he did. But it can be frustrating in the early stages, but wonderful once it starts to build. Yes.
Yeah, it takes consistency as the growth experts are right when they say, you got to show up every day for 12 months and just post and get good at it, practice, build the habit. And then once you find your groove, it
Yeah.
becomes a lot easier to be who it is that you really are. And then it's those lurkers that will start to find some trust in what it is and what the story is that you're
Yeah.
sharing. And then it's like Inception. They come up with the idea themselves, even though
That's
you've
right.
been slowly nurturing them over the past 6 months or however you're doing it. And so, yeah, like I mentioned, I get people and old colleagues and people that I have on LinkedIn as contacts, but I actually don't know who they are. They're just local Vancouver kind of industry people that
Yeah.
I've met at some point. And they come up to me. They've never liked my stuff. They've never commented, but they really enjoy reading what I write. And I've had uh, a couple of random purchases of my course from what I wouldn't call friends, but sort of friends of friends of friends that are in the local community that aren't active on LinkedIn growing. They're not there commenting, but they somehow stumbled upon this course that I have set up. And so
Yeah.
it just goes to show that, you know, consistency, practice, outreach like you do, that's something that I haven't really done enough of, but I'm selling a $150 course, so I'm not going to spend too many man hours trying to nurture a $150 client, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm more focused on just building a readership. If someone wants to buy the course, that's fantastic. And I'm going to spend most of my time buying real estate anyways.
Yeah, that's
Um,
right, because that's your main gig at the main game, really.
yeah,
But yeah, it's fascinating to see because I've noticed the growth in your the number of people who are commenting, interacting with your content. Of course, we know that the vast majority of people who are on LinkedIn they never comment on anything, and
yeah, yeah,
they're the lurkers, and often the best people are lurkers. Um,
yeah,
so we say in the thought leadership arena that you've got to have a point of view that you will that you will where you'll prosecute the case. You've got a unique point of difference. You've got something that's a bit different to what some of the other people in the industry are doing. And certainly, the recurring themes that I see with you are they're powerful, very simple. It's very simple. It's not rocket science. And often it's a similar sort of a message, but you sort of repackage the message to keep it fresh. But so that was a bit of preamble there. But the question I thought of was how do people how do you see yourself as different from other people, let's say in the LinkedIn space, financial people, in the financial services industry, etc. How do you see your message as being different to most of theirs?
that's a great question because yes, I agree that, in order to grow and have a brand and grow an audience that's going to turn into like, paying customers, that's most people's goals with this type of journey is be different. And the reality is though, there's copywriters that are all basically saying the same thing. There's sort of, ghostwriters that kind of do the same thing. And then there's financial experts that say the same things because it's all kind of the same in principle when it comes to growing your wealth. Let's just take my industry for example.
Yeah.
The way to grow your wealth is to earn more, spend less, and invest the difference. Because of inflation, if you don't take your hard-earned dollars after you finish the day of work and put it into a portfolio that has stocks, bonds, commodities, real estate, it will literally go to zero slowly or quickly if you live in Venezuela or some high inflation country. So there is an absolute necessity to invest. You can't just work and hope that your savings will stay there in 20 years. It just
Yeah.
doesn't work. So
Yeah. Well, that's
that message is consistent. Like that is undeniable across all financial experts and wisdom. So the question is how am I different? Well, the core message isn't really very different from what Warren Buffett's is or what, my dad's is or what yours might be about when it comes to earning more, spending less, and investing.
yeah.
What is different about me is just simply in the way I communicate with people because my content just spills out of me when I look at, my wife buying, sorry to blame my wife, but she loves to buy brands that are expensive. She has a nice taste. And so she looks at it as an investment, but I say, you know, you don't need the high quality brand when you can use the Toyota to get you from A to B instead of a Ferrari to get you from
Yeah.
A to B. We don't own a Ferrari, so I have a Mazda. Um, but so A is just once you become good at communicating your own thoughts, even if the subject matter in principle is the same, then you will naturally stand out because it's coming out of your own personality. So that takes time to build and be comfortable with. It's like therapy for yourself is understanding
Yeah.
who you are and what it is you want to share.
Absolutely. And what about the role of story playing? Sorry, storytelling with content.
Yeah, so that's a good question. I mean, I'm sort of running around blocking and tackling, trying to figure out how to improve my copywriting and storytelling and persuasion. And you are very good at the art of persuasion. Um, and so that's one thing that I need to get better at is storytelling. I've never been the one in the group of 10 people that's standing there telling the story. I'm just the guy that enjoys the story. So it's a bit of a change for me being on LinkedIn, trying to be the person telling the story. Luckily, I'm good at writing and I learned a lot about how to be to the point, add a little flair in my equity research days when I was selling research to large funds. It's not
Yeah.
just about the numbers analysis, it's about how do you tell the story of an investment and why is it good, bad, or hold, buy, sell, or hold. And so firms would pay for not just the financial analysis, but a story that could help them understand an investment in a better way than they could do just analyzing numbers. And
Yeah.
so I have some experience with that, but I would call myself a novice storyteller. In my posts, I've tried to use characters. I use this guy named Bob and a girl named Margaret, and I kind of put them against each other and say, okay, Bob drinks, he doesn't save his excess money, and in 40 years, he's got no savings and a bad liver. Whereas Margaret starts investing at a
Yeah.
young age, $500 a month, puts it on autopilot, and in 40 years, she's got $4 or $5 million. And these are based off of what I would call real people, or at least elements of everybody I know, including myself. And so I find that memes and characters and colors when I do the, image posts and not a text post. I
Yeah.
find that those resonate really well with people because people can see some of themselves in those characters, even though there's
Yeah.
cartoons.
Yeah.
So I don't know what
Absolutely.
you think about that and, how to tell a story and what your sort of thoughts are on persuasion and storytelling in particular.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a big topic, but yeah, I really
Yeah.
like what you're doing with those little photos with the the
Yeah.
boozer and all of that. It's terrific.
Yeah. Bob the Boozer.
Yeah, it definitely helps to. I think that sort of thing. It's a little bit creative. It stands out. People remember it, and it certainly helps to elevate you as a thought leader within your space. And that's yeah, You don't want any more than that. I mean, that's a fantastic outcome where people start to see you, they look up to you, and they see you as being the guy that, although you're talking about basic concepts, it's memorable. It's memorable because they remember those little anecdotes or examples, etc. But yeah, there's probably other things you can do from a storytelling perspective. Maybe dig deep into some of the experiences you had in the past, and just pick one small snippet, choose one snippet, and then turn it into a little bit of a story, and then somehow segue towards the lesson or the point that you're wanting to make.
Yeah.
Slice of life stories, all that kind of stuff. Wonderful. I should run a workshop on that. It's just slice of life stories, everyday things that happen to you, and how you can use them to make a point with you, through your content. So,
Yeah.
all right. Okay. Well, look, it's fantastic. It's fantastic talking with you, Eddie. We'll wrap this up. But what's the best way for people to contact you? As I said at the outset, your website, all of that will be in the show notes anyway. But if people want to contact you, LinkedIn would be the best way to do it, or?
Yeah, LinkedIn. You can go onto my website. My email's there if anyone wants to contact me directly through email. My website is edwardgoodwill.com. It'll be in the show notes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm active on LinkedIn. I have Twitter and Instagram, but I'm not really on there. But LinkedIn, I'm active on, and then via my website as well.
Awesome. Oh, well, that's fantastic. Thanks for being a guest. You're guest number 2 in the Thought Leadership series. So
Great.
it'll be look forward to seeing the finished item in a week or two. But yeah, once again, thanks a lot for the opportunity of talking with you and doing this
Yeah.
little interview. All right. Well, that's great, Eddie. Thanks a lot. It's great. We'll see you on LinkedIn and possibly elsewhere in the near future.
Sounds good. Thanks, Kim. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Eddie. And this is Kim Willis. Bye for now.